What's good, my people? Fulan Speaks back for another video. And this is what we're going to be doing. This is pretty much day two of our new morning routine, which is when I have my morning coffee, I'm going to open up this here and I'm going to start running my mouth. It typically will be about sports, but also, we welcome other topics, but they have to kind of relate to sports. At any rate, today, we're going to lead with something a little different. Briefly, we're going to speak on my bottom of the barrel, grass feeding, trash, bottom of the dumpster fire, Philadelphia 76ers. Many of you probably don't care, and I halfway don't care, but I feel like as being, the long-time Philadelphian and Philadelphian sports fan that I am, I got to say a few words about them. All right, so apparently my bottom of the barrel, trash, grass feeding, underachieving, undeserving Philadelphia 76ers happen to have won their whopping fifth game of the season last night in a 1-0 something versus a 90 something game. You see how much I don't really care against the Charlotte Hornets. A game in which second-year player Brandon Miller finally gets to face his favorite player, Paul George. Like, get that, right? A guy who takes Paul George as his favorite player. And I like Paul George, but your favorite player, and he goes off, scores over 30 points. But during that game, Paul George actually has the best game he's had as a Sixer, which is a good sign. 29 points, some rebounds, some stuff like that. Good for him. When he starts to do this more consistently, I'll pay better attention and I'll actually provide the actual stats a little bit more thoroughly. But you got to kind of make me give a damn. But I'll say this about the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, they are trash. They are bottom feeders. They are right now like the worms that are beneath the soil that are feeding off of fertilizer that was meant for grass. So they're kind of like unwanted right now. This is the Philadelphia 76ers. However, unlike other bottom feeding trash teams at the time, the one thing we can say about the Philadelphia 76ers, the one little good thing, is that they have everything they need to actually turn it around. Right? There's no need for a trade at the moment. At least I don't think. There's no need for a coaching change. That's not going to do anything. Because most bottom feeders will feed on the garbage beneath the sewer. They really need a draft pick. They need a coaching change. They need a culture change and so on, which Sixers probably do need a culture change. But this is a good sign. This is the first time for the whole season, and right now we're encroaching upon almost 20 games. We're getting close to that, where the Sixers were able to win 2 games in a row. So let's have an applause for my Philadelphia 76ers who were able to win 2 games. And before we move on to some more topics that are more interesting, I will say this about the Philadelphia 76ers. So far, if I were to give out grades, there are 2 Fs that are immediately given out. The first one is towards Joel Embiid, of course, a player that I love immensely in a sports type of love, you know what I mean, because what he could provide for the Sixers in theory. A&R, I see your question. We will get to that once we transfer over into women's college basketball and women's WNBA basketball. But right now, saying a few things about my Philadelphia 76ers, if you don't mind. But appreciate you coming through and definitely, absolutely appreciate the question. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers, like I said, They get an F for Joel Embiid in his effort. Now, I'm not absolutely certain. I'm not one of these guys that, come on and pretend to know everything that's going on when I don't know any of these players personally and haven't talked to them. But I will say this. It appears that him going and playing in the Olympics, like I said, it appears that way, may not have been the best move for him to make. Maybe for him personally, it was a good move, to get an award, get, the gold medal, which he probably didn't feel he could get if he played for Cameroon, which I've said, or I've been on record saying I would have liked to have seen Joel Embiid had he played in the Olympics to play for Cameroon. And that I would have respected more. But what's the value of my respect, right? But it appears that that did not help him to in the healing process in preparation for the season, right? We had really no idea what his condition was. Everything seemed fine. The Philadelphia 76ers go out and have what appeared to be one of the best off seasons we've seen in recent years. Paul George being the most sought after free agent out there on the market. We were able to go out there and get him, which appeared to be, a great signing and a great fit as the Philadelphia 76ers were deficient in the wing area. In terms of like true wings, the Philadelphia 76ers are deficient. 76ers are good at guards, and 76ers are good at bigs with Joel Embiid, in theory. So we go grab him along with Paul George. We go sign Kyle Lowry for nice backup point guard work, no problem there. Eric Gordon for shooting, no problem there. Reggie Jackson is a nice little piece to have as a backup in theory. Caleb Martin, you thought could provide some defense and a little bit of scoring and some shooting, floor spacing. All of the good things, all of the things on paper that the Philadelphia 76ers will have you think, will have them ready for a great season. Maxey signed the big contract, which has me a little concerned now because I don't like the Maxey that I'm seeing. And then we also took Nails, as I call him, the kid from Duke, right? Duke, yeah, Jared McCain, who's actually been a pleasant surprise in most people's eyes this year. Now, what I noticed, which I think came as a combination of a few things, I don't think Joel Embiid and Nick Nurse were on the same page at the beginning of the season. I think Nick Nurse was probably under the impression that he would have a Joel Embiid and he would have a Maxey and a Paul George. Okay, so first we find out Joel Embiid isn't ready to start the season. I don't think Nick Nurse was aware of it. And I'm saying this because the Sixers that we saw, game one, game two, game three, game four in particular, were just a bunch of guys out there running around like a chicken with his head cut off, with Tyrese Maxey being extremely ball dominant, shooting with a green light similar to that of Allen Iverson. And yes, I love Tyrese Maxey. And while I do, he is not Allen Iverson. And that is not a strategy that you would implement in order to get the best Tyrese Maxey. I don't know what the freak Nick Nurse was doing. I guess he decided, I don't know, maybe he was mad and B wasn't there. Maybe he was mad Paul George gets hurt in preseason. He decided he wasn't going to coach that first week or so. Because I didn't see not a damn lick of coaching. This led to us getting way behind the sticks. I believe we lose the first 4 games or so, something like that. And then lo and behold, Maxey gets hurt. Now, Maxey getting hurt allowed for this Jared McCain, who I called Nails, to actually show what he can do. So maybe that was good and so on. But all the while we're losing and losing and losing. And then finally, we get Embiid to come in for a game or two. We get Paul George to come in for a game or two. But during this time, I saw Nick Nurse decide he wanted to coach. So you started to see a little bit more ball movement, guys sharing the ball, guys trying on defense and things like that, which I guess you got to somewhat appreciate to a degree. However, it's all just a bunch of just bullshit, in my opinion. So Nick Nurse, he starts off with an F. Joel Embiid gets an F minus. Okay, and Tyrese Maxey, I don't like the Tyrese Maxey that I'm seeing right now. It's too ball dominant. His efficiency has gone down almost 10%. But that is not Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is not a 41% guy from the floor. He's not a 32% guy from the three. Now he was more efficient in the past, typically because either he was playing with James Harden, who took up the most of the ball handling responsibilities, or he was with a Seth Curry and a Joel Embiid, who primarily was the primary scoring option. We were dumping the ball into him, which allowed Maxey to kind of act as a floor spacer. And in that situation, he's more of a 40% three-point shooter instead of him being a shooter from off of the dribble, and all of these types of uh, things that the Sixers were doing. So, I'm looking forward to them getting all their shit together, and I think they will to a degree. I don't expect them to do anything special this year. If they were to do anything special, they would be at least a year and a half away because of the amount of chemistry that you need. Then you got to always cross your fingers about Joel Embiid's health, and then now it seems that's the same thing with Paul George. So my expectations are really at an all-time low for the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't expect much. I will not brag about them at all. So that's pretty much what we got on them. All right, good for y'all that y'all were able to win 2 fucking games for the first time all year. I'll give you a clap for that. And yeah, I'm moving on. Let's see what. So we got a comment concerning that from Brother Breeden Constantly. I think the Orlando Magic are going to blow out the 76ers. What do you think about that game today? I wouldn't be surprised if the Philadelphia 76ers are blown out by the Orlando Magic, especially is Banchero back. I know last time when we played him, he wasn't available. I haven't really been paying that close attention to the whole league like that. I've really been heavy Eagles and other sports. But that wouldn't surprise me one bit. It also wouldn't surprise me if somehow the Sixers were able to win the game. I believe there's all possibilities for that game tonight. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. What is next on the board for us here? All right, now, the women's college basketball scene this is a area that is becoming more and more popular. Of course, since the emergence of the Caitlin Clark, as well as the Angel Reese situation that we all know about. Don't have to rehash the history. Now you have the Unrivaled League that is going to be coming up, which I suppose should be good for that league and for that sport. Despite the fact that both the best basketball player in that league, AJ Wilson, will not take part in it, nor will Caitlin Clark, who's not the best player, of course, in that league by a mile, but most popular because of the large demographic that latches onto her and live vicariously through her, which is one of the most phenomenal but weirdest happenings that are taking place right now, probably in the country. I don't get it, but it is what it is, and you are forced to kind of accept it. So that league, I believe, starts next month, and we'll see. Recently, I believe one of the stars in the WNBA, Kelsey Plum of the Las Vegas Aces that recently just dropped out after being, selected and and accepting initially to play for that league. I don't know how that affects things. I don't know how big her fan base is or anything like that. But, um, on one hand, I thought it was unfortunate that she kind of drops out. But at the same time, I guess it is what it is. I don't think she'll affect it that much. People who are looking to watch are going to watch. I'm interested in seeing how much of a how much support it gets. I really don't know. I don't have a frame of reference or any metric to to decide one way or the other whether it'll be a success or not. I'm more so looking as a spectator and curious to see. Personally, I didn't really have an interest in watching 3-on-3 basketball. I don't really watch 3-on-3 basketball. Even the big three, the Ice Cube runs, um, not really my thing. But I think I'm going to tune in more so like out of curiosity. I'm also interested in the improvements in the games of some of the players, in particular like Angel Reese, to see with her working closely by some of those more veteran ladies. How her game develops. That is something I watch. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect from the unrivaled league. Now on to women's college basketball. This is the first. This is exciting. This is one of the first times in years that I've actually paid attention and watched. Prior to the March Madness. And like last year, I kind of got into the March Madness, and in the year before, where you had the finals between LSU and Iowa, you know, and we all know what happened there. But this year, man, you had some phenomenal ladies. Not to say that they weren't there prior, that they weren't phenomenal players prior, but this year you had some really phenomenal players. I just recently watched Juju Watkins, the other day, and really, this girl is this young sister's very, very, very good, very polished game, and I believe just a sophomore coming in. What can you say? 25.5 points a night. This is through 8 games. Yeah, I believe she's led that team to a 7-1 record at the time, which is pretty good. So we're talking about 25.5 points a night, 6.3 rebounds, 3.6 assists on a on a really good 47.6% from the field. You're talking about for a guard, that's really good. Shooting 38% from three, which is very respectable. Um, a player who can get wherever she wants on the court. Has the size, and then she's a dog on defense. From what I saw, one of the games I saw earlier, she had like 5 blocks to go along, with almost 30 points. She's really a phenomenal player, man. And to think that she's just a sophomore with a junior year to play, and we don't know what she'll do as far as the senior year goes. I expect her, man, that when she gets to the W to really just hit the ground running. Her game is the closest game I've seen to like Candace Parker. It seems like she just kind of has pretty much everything Candace did down, and it sky's the limit. Obviously, for a player like her. Now, as far as her team, LSU, I don't know. Obviously, they'll make the tournament. Um, I expect them to go at least as far as they did last year. I think they were Elite Eight last year, if I'm not mistaken, or Sweet 16. I know at least or Elite Eight. I'll have to recheck that. Um, I expect them to be one of the teams, that is competing, but I don't think they're the best. I did watch that game against Notre Dame where they lost, where you had, the outstanding backcourt, man, of Notre Dame with the Miss Olivia Miles, with the goggles. Looks like a complete nerd out there, right? But she can ball, man. Olivia, by the way, has some impressive numbers, about 17 points a night, 6 assists. By far, to me, she's the most cerebral player I've seen, besides, of course, numero uno, who we'll talk about in a second. Um, 16, you're talking about 7 assists, 6.4 rebounds on a whopping 52% from the field and an absurd 48.4% from three. She's the one I know that most of my Chicago Sky fan compatriots are looking for and targeting in the draft. Now, will it be possible to get her? Because where's Chicago? If one of you brothers can help me out, where exactly does Chicago pick A&R? If you're there, what pick does the Chicago Sky actually have? And where are they picking? Is it 3, 4? I think it's something. I know they don't have one. If one of you brothers can help me out with that, man, just post that. Um, but I know Olivia Miles is the one that everyone is kind of like targeting, and I would be in agreement with it, even though her two guard that plays with her, this Hannah Hidalgo, is blows my mind. I'm totally impressed with Hidalgo. Um, I love them defensive players. Anyone who follows the channel, I love defensive players. I did watch that game. That's the first time I didn't even really know about Notre Dame. I kind of heard about Olivia Miles. You all got to understand, I'm a new convert to women's college basketball, women's basketball in general. This isn't something I watched. Um, I started watching out of curiosity, but when I saw, I was really trying to follow Juju and them, and I saw that game against Notre Dame, man, and I was so impressed with that backcourt. Especially Hidalgo. Well, definitely Miles, but Hidalgo, man, with that defense, boy, and she's out there giving. She's scoring 23.9 points a night, 6 rebounds and 3 assists with 45% from the field. Like I'm so impressed with these numbers that they're shooting from the field. And I gotta look at is there a particular reason? But their numbers from the field are very very efficient. Whereas if you look in the actual W, you don't find that many efficient players. So maybe that could be because of defense. Um, I don't know. It could be a number of reasons. Maybe they have different rules. Maybe they're shooting from the threes from different distances. I gotta kind of look into some of that stuff right there. But yeah, I like Miles. I like Hidalgo. Um, and then number one. Number one, white chocolate. Paige Beckers right now is looking like, I mean, Paige right now has led her team to a 7-0 record, UConn. UConn is the team right now uh, who I'm looking at to probably take it, at the end of the tournament. Um, Paige is, to me, is clearly the best player in the nation. Now, I'll talk about another player too, who could be a sneaky come run up on Page type of better but Page right now is shooting an absurd 60.9% from the field. That is absurd for a guard. Whether I know I'm not quite sure. Sometimes it's like she's playing the point. Sometimes it looks like she's playing the three. She can kind of do whatever right now. And what I'm most impressed with is her on defense. Now, I'm not trying to sound racist in them, but for a white girl, to play defense like that, that is really impressive, right? That does happen. You got I like the defense that's played by Brianna Stewart. From New York. Her defense is excellent, and others, right? But Paige, boy, Paige really is impressive. Right now, she's just leading that team to 7-0, which is the most 7-0 start, which is the most, and they're like blowing people out. And she's not like ball dominant or any of that. She can play on that ball. She can play off the ball so well that I know when she comes to the W, it's going to be just a smooth transition. And I predict she'll have a better year, than Caitlin Clark did. And Caitlin Clark's year, was phenomenal, by rookie standards. It wasn't the most efficient season, but it was effective. She had an effective game. And that's not efficient because her field goal percentage was not the greatest. And of course, her handling of the ball, her assist to turnover ratio was absurdly bad. I know people love the passing, but in and I hope Caitlin changes the way she sees things. Right now, she her best attribute is the passing. She loves to pass, and she is a great passer. But she has to change the way she looks at turnovers. Turnovers are not a small thing. It's not a small deal. No, it's a big fucking deal. If you don't change it, you will not win. Okay. But that's the issue. That's the only issue she has to change pretty much. Kaden changes the damn turnovers. Our game goes to another level. But that's the thing I like about we look at Becker's Paige. She can play on that ball. She's not turning it over, and she's playing the defense. So she'll have that over already. So I imagine Paige, man. UConn right now, my pick to win it all. More than likely, I would say 55% chance in my mind that UConn does it. Led by Paige, white chocolate. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on an absurd 60% from the floor, and another equally absurd 46.9% from three. Paige is absurd right now, flat out absurd, flat out absurd. But then I can't forget the one who's often overlooked. My favorite out of what I call the big three, Juju, Page, my favorite is Flau'jae Johnson, without a doubt. Flau'jae Johnson. You just watch their games, and I remember watching Flau'jae 2 years ago when she was playing with Angel Reese at LSU, and who was that? Like they weren't going to win it, of course, without her, right? But her game has progressed now to where she doesn't have to force a damn thing. She can let her teammates eat. This is what I'm so impressed with. She lets her teammates eat. And whenever she wants her, she just gets it. And it's nothing. It's nothing. She right now is averaging 22, almost 22 and a half points a game, 6.3 rebounds, 3 assists on a very low usage rate. And a really good, whopping 54.7% from the field and an absurd a really good 43.2% from three. She's very athletic out there, plays damn good defense, right? Reminds me a lot of Kalia Copper, who's in the W from Philly. Your Flau'jae, man, is the one they sleep on. She has led LSU right now to a 9-0 start. Can't argue with that. And they're sneaky good. I would talk about some of my teammates, but I got to look a little bit more into them. I test them. She is the big down there, number 24, I believe the number is. Forgive me for getting a name, but she's damn good, working along with Flau'jae. And they seem like a very unselfish team, very patient, let the game come to them, play sound defense, obviously well coached. You're talking about, Moki. That's kind of what she does. So if anything, depending on how how everything falls, with the tournament, what I would love to see UConn and LSU. I believe the least you'll see them is in either Elite Eight or Final Four, and of course you can't forget about South Carolina. But I'll talk about South Carolina another day. That you're talking about Dawn Staley and the program she's put together. She always, for me, gets a whole nother separate subject because Philadelphian, Philly ties, Dawn. That's how we do. I'll probably talk about Dawn, another day. In South Carolina, of course, I know they took a loss or so, but they're always going to be there. That's the best coach team in the league. That's the best program, and I think that's pretty much undeniable. A&R says LSU is hooping right now. Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Led by Flage, who just, as Kim Mulkey says, she's out there floating around, is what it looks like. It's like basketball is nothing to her right now. And she's doing that while juggling, a rap career. She got some skills. Really, really happy for the sister, man. She's a very positive, I think, influence on young women like her. And I don't doubt focused. I don't doubt focused dark skinned people. I just don't. Oh man, I just don't. So that's pretty much what we got on that. If anybody had any questions about that, yeah, feel free. When the link dropped, we could do that too. But now, what do we got next? We got the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Carolina Panthers. Now, if you follow the channel, yesterday I had dropped a video. Okay, on it was the facility. Members of the show called The Facility, with Shady McCoy and Emmanuel Acho and so on. And they were talking about the Eagles. Okay. So I did a video on it. YouTube on some bullshit. It's the most wonderful time of the year. YouTube decides to copyright strike it. So while the video is still available, I can't get paid for it. So I decided what I'm going to do is, we're going to talk about that now, because one of the biggest things that is going on right now is just complete disrespect for Jalen Hurts. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles as a whole are being praised pretty well. Jalen Hurts himself, though, is just disrespected. We're hearing everything from Barkley's carrying the team to he's a game manager. And most people, in my opinion, don't even know what the hell that is. And they just throw these words out there. Say this is about to be an easy game for the Eagles. It should be. I agree. It should be an easy game for the Eagles. But those are the ones you got to look out for sometimes, my brother. If you've been watching football as long as I have, those are the ones you oftentimes got to watch out for. But let's see what these guys, these brothers had to say. And I want you all just listen. And I'm going to chime in.
Which hand he gonna get, or what finger he gonna get the ring for the 40? Yeah, because he got engaged, but it's like, what other ring you talking about? We're here. What questions we got? Chase, don't drop us down. All he does is win. We're here. We love to sit and brag about Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, other dudes. We're not gonna brag about him. He ain't throwing picks. All he does is we don't have any questions. No, man, no. I have no questions for Jalen Hurts. Doing what you're doing. It's funny how, like, in some cases where quarterbacks it's not asked to do as much, right? And we praise him for it. Brock Purdy, when he was doing this thing. Right, we kept all these questions about him. All he kept doing was winning for the role that they had him playing. What's the problem with Jalen Hurts? The role we got him playing got us what, 8-3 or 8-2, 9-2, whatever it is. We winning games. We one of the favorites in the NFC. What we talking about? We still had questions about Purdy even when they were winning. We still had questions. Yo, this brother is you're a quarterback. You know how hard it is, right? It's hard. The brother's an all-pro. Hard to do. It's difficult. Pro bowler and took his team to the Super Bowl. Yeah, Super Bowl. You feel me? And he looks like he might go back again. And I gotta say about Jalen Hurts. It don't matter what you think about him, all he does is win. For example, his first year as a starter, I didn't think he was really that good, right? But he was young, so I didn't really judge him. Took his team to the playoffs. I was surprised. The next year, gets better and better. Now, you look back up there in the Super Bowl. Your boy, Wayne, right? We was talking about the game against the Eagles versus Ravens. And you know what he said? At the end of the game, he said, yo, I should have known that Jalen Hurts always been doing is winning since he's been a young boy. Since high school, since college. He's doing the same thing in the pros. He might not look pretty to you, the way he throws it or what it looks like or where the office looks. He winning games, dog, and he's not a weak link. He could be out there throwing picks and putting the defense in best situations, and we got to find a way to win. He ain't doing that. He's controlling the game, making plays, moving the games. He's not the weak link. I'll doing his ear. He not the...
Now, Shady McCoy, right? The question at the top was asked, do we have questions about Jalen Hurts? Right. First of all, it doesn't really matter if these guys have questions about him or not, but it's a thing because now Philadelphia Eagles are sitting at 10-2, and because Jalen Hurts hasn't passed for 3,000 yards already, and hasn't passed for 30 touchdowns or whatever already, they want to ask questions about whether or not you have any questions about him. And actually, the day before they asked, was he the weak link on the team? And it's something I don't get. There's so many people with preconceived notions about Jalen Hurts, whether it's based off of the way he looks to them, like he doesn't have that 6'5" look with the long arms and whatever, or whether or not it's because of the player that he was at Alabama, and they're still holding on to that. I don't get it. I think yesterday I sat here and explained, how Jalen Hurts worked on his craft, how he's a completely different passer than he was before, how really the most important thing for a quarterback is clutchness, is the quarterback's ability to stay focused regardless the situation, regardless the outside noise, regardless the circumstances, regardless the situational reality in the game, whether it's the first quarter, whether it's the fourth quarter. Now, this is something I'm going to read to y'all, and this is something that was left to me by one of the subs, whose name I'm not going to reveal because I don't have I didn't ask permission to reveal the name. But I mean, you could see it if you were to check, the live feed that I did yesterday morning.
Did you know that?
All right. And she said that Nick Saban, okay, this is Nick Saban, of course, for those who know the coach. Those who don't know, the coach was the coach of Alabama previously. All right, the legendary Nick Saban. Said Nick Saban did a personality test on all his athletes when they entered the program. The psychologist did an interview on Alabama Sports Radio. He said Jalen Hurts tested to be closest to that of a Navy SEAL sniper, meaning he has nerves of steel, relentless, super competitive, hyper-focused, especially when the pressure intensifies. And in the heat of battle only made him more mentally tough. Said he actually tested the closest to Nick Saban himself than any player he'd ever seen. This is what happened. This is the psychology of his. He went through a psychological examination, and this was what came up. And this had a lot to do with why Nick Saban decided to start him over the other players that he had, even though he was a redshirt freshman.
Game making plays, moving the games. He's not the weak link. I'll doing his ear. He's not the weak link. He's not the weak link. On your chair. What y'all got to say? This is the last part I'm doing. The thing is, we can have a quarterback like a Justin Herbert that throw for all these yards, look beautiful. He throws the ball, nice hair and all that. And they don't win nothing.
Nice hair.
Every day they go back home as losers. Truth of the matter is, so as much as other quarterbacks, you want to talk Tua, another one. Really good, right? He processed so well. He got all these wide receivers, looks good for a little bit. They losing though. They know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Jalen Hurts every single year is going to be in the playoffs. Is potentially going to NFC Championship game like he did last year. Yeah. Or the year before that. Yeah. And then Super Bowl this year. Can't be no weakness. I ain't about to argue about this no more, man. It's up there. I want to brag about now both y'all. I want to brag about some talented losers. I don't do that.
I think everything Shady said is right, but
it's factual. What you mean right? That's right.
I disagree with you.
It's factual. No, but it was like some opinion based. No, look it up. Everything I said is factual. Facts.
Is it fair to even say nothing yet, Shady? How am I hating? Is it fair to suggest though that Jalen Hurts is like the woman in the corset? I'm just wondering what they hide. Because the Eagles only pass the ball 19 times a game. So I'm just wondering, what you hiding? Yeah. Because, not to say you're not still beautiful, but what you hiding? Right. 19 pass attempts a game, a $255 million quarterback. What you hiding? They run the ball 56% of the time. That's the most in the NFL. Second best is the Steelers. We knew what they were hiding, Justin Fields. What you hiding? So it's not to say that what Jalen Hurts still does is not.
All right, briefly, but for anyone who sees what Acho is doing, Acho actually serves as, of course, the host of the show. But what he's doing is he's playing what you call devil's advocate. Okay, where you have a situation where there's no problems, right? You're 10-2. Quarterback isn't turning the ball over, has a good quarterback rating, leading the team, all of that. This is the situation. This is the actual reality on the ground for the Philadelphia Eagles. What the devil's advocate does is he comes in and he tries to find little holes and tries to nitpick and find little avenues and just usually comes with hypothetical questioning in order to try to bring something out, right? That isn't necessarily there. And this is what Acho is doing here. He asks, what are the Eagles hiding? Right, because the Eagles are running the ball. On paper, they appear to be running the ball, and I'm going to explain to you in a minute why I say appear. Running the ball more than they're passing. Okay? So he right there, you're making an assumption that means we're doing that. I'm doing that because we're hiding. He didn't ask the Eagles brass, okay, why are you running more than you're passing? No, he's making an assumption on his own that it means they're hiding something of Jalen Hurts. That's the reason they're running. Not because running is effective, but because they're hiding Jalen Hurts. That's an assumption, right? So that's just playing devil's advocate. Typically, when someone does this in a normal conversation, you could just ignore it, and you can ask them, how'd you know? It's similar to if someone comes up to you, you're a married man, and they say to you, are you going to stop beating your wife? It's like someone asking you that question. And you don't beat your wife. They don't know you or your wife to know if you do beat your wife, right? That's the type of stuff that Acho is doing here, okay? So it could just be ignored until he brings evidence that that's the reason they're running, okay? But anyway, just to briefly speak about that situation, it really isn't difficult. Let's go to the Eagles game versus Baltimore. It ain't hard to do at all. Like the stats are all there. Excuse me. All right. Yeah. So the Philadelphia Eagles during the game here against the Baltimore Ravens, Jalen Hurts passed the ball 19 times. Okay, so 19 times he passed the ball. Saquon Barkley runs 23 times. Okay. Now, what Acho is doing is he's adding Jalen Hurts' 9 rushes, Will Shipley's 1 rush. Okay, Hurts is the quarterback, so he's adding that as like a rush. Now, if you were to just take away Hurts' runs, that's 19 to 23. That's just 4 more rushing attempts to a running back than passes. Right, this is the reality. A lot of times they don't like to let the reality, the effect was going on. Now, this is what the other thing they're not factoring in. To end the game, the Philadelphia Eagles ended the game against the Ravens on 14 rushing attempts. This is a fact. There was 14 rushing attempts to end the game. So that means prior to that, Barkley had the ball 9 carries versus 19 passes. So when the game was still in the balance and the Eagles or the Ravens, one could win or the other could win, the Eagles had actually passed the ball more than they had run. Once the game was determined, then they started passing the ball in order to run the clock out. This is really what happened. All right. But, of course, you don't let the truth get in the way of a nice little narrative. But that's the formula of the Philadelphia Eagles. During the game, they're running and passing in order to to win the game. They're running and passing and so on. Once the game and if the game is in hand and the Eagles are winning, then they run the ball. Right? This is an old school formula. Pass to get the lead, run to keep it.
Beautiful, but like the individual in the corset, I'm just curious. What you hide? Because what happens when you gotta throw the ball a lot? What happens when you undo the job? What you hiding? So I'm just curious, 2-5. Of course, what Jalen does is beautiful, but like the person in the corset, I got questions. I'm curious. What you hiding?
Now the problem is that Shady McCoy hasn't done his proper research in order to correctly refute Acho. That's the most disappointing part of it. And it really takes about 5 minutes, like I did. You use Google that we all have and look it up. What's sad is these guys actually have people at ESPN who's their job to provide whatever stats you want. All you have to do is ask, what was the run pass ratio prior to those 14 carries in a row that the Eagles did in order to close the game out, right? Because if Saquon Barkley ran the ball 23 times, Jalen Hurts passed 19 times, but the Eagles ended on 14 runs, they're not running really more than they're passing when the game is in the balance, okay? The reality of what happened in that game, Saquon ends up with about 104 yards for the game. And that's on 23 carries. At halftime, he had 44 yards, no touchdowns. However, the Eagles had 14 points. Who scored those points? The points were scored on a Jalen Hurts touchdown pass to Dallas Goedert, and then a Jalen Hurts run. First there was like a 15-yard run to the one, and then a tush-push run. Okay, but that's all Jalen Hurts doing that. Barkley scores a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then now everyone is saying Barkley gets all the credit for the win. And this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. And I'm not even going to go through that whole segment because I think we've done enough to kind of, clarify, refute that nonsense they were on. At any rate, man, if nobody has any questions or any comments with that, we'll cut this short right now. I pretty much said what I wanted to say. Now, we will probably do a breakdown tomorrow of Eagles versus Panthers. I don't know what much of a breakdown we'll need. It'll be interesting looking at how Bryce Young has come along. I'm happy for him from the standpoint that, the way people viewed him at the beginning of the year versus the way they view him now is more positive. That's good. I want to see the young brother succeed. Chuba Hubbard, their running back, he's someone that, we should talk about. He had a very surprising season, so that's good to see. And I know the Carolina Panthers, they have somewhat of a respectable defense. At least I know they did last year, and they actually have been playing a lot better as of late. But, I agree, it should be a game that the Eagles use in order to just kind of stat pad. You win, and this is where Barkley, if you can get 150, you can get 200 yards, to really go for that 2,000-yard goal. If that's a goal, this is one of the games where you do that. Jalen Hurts can get his stats up. For those of you who love stats, who think a quarterback has to throw 4,000 yards every damn year, these days I'm hearing, even though Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Terry Brett, a lot of guys never did it. But this is the stuff I hear. We like to run with narratives. This is a time where I believe Devontae Smith should be back playing. So there's a chance to get him some catches, get him involved, get Jahan Dotson's stats up. Dallas Goedert won't be there, so there should be opportunity for that if the Eagles so choose to go that route. My thing is, host them, let them come in, just win the game and avoid injury. That's the main thing. We need to keep this team healthy. That's the only thing that's scaring me at this point. What did we play? What did we play? 10 games so far. So we got 5 more games. And to me, those are just 5 more opportunities for people to get hurt. So do your best to win stay healthy, get on out of there, because you got the Pittsburgh Steelers that are coming up after them, and that will not be a cakewalk. It never is when we play the Steelers. It's that Pennsylvania rivalry thing going on. It's a Mike Tomlin coach team, so they're going to be tough-minded. They're going to play tough. They're just coming off a game where they scored, over 40 points. So you're going to be getting a very confident Pittsburgh team. Well, I think they do have a game coming up this week if they're not on a bye. But right now, Pittsburgh is very confident. So the key, take care of the Panthers. Ready yourself up for Pittsburgh. Do your best to stay healthy. And then that's pretty much it, man, for that. Once again, thank everybody for coming through. Thank you all for who have participated. Keep this consistency up. The crowd will grow, because that's how it works with this internet algorithm. It's all about consistency. We have not been able to be consistent here like a lot of other people because we work a job. So with this, but we will be consistent with this here every morning. Be right here till this thing gets pushed through and it grows. And appreciate everybody for coming out and helping in that process. So we will get back with you all later. Peace out.